chance you can do something amazing to feel your passion blazing and shine.
Paint with every vision, dance in new directions, explode to new heights in your mind.
I will rise up with you today.
Lift up my voice
and boldly say, we are the ones we've been waiting for.
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to AGNT Speaks. It is a delight to gather together today in consciousness. And so we are here as your AGNT, the Association for Global New Thought Leadership Council, to share with you each week at this time a mindful message, an affirmative prayer, or a spiritual practice that is connecting us all and raising awareness. So that's what we're here for. I am your host, Erin McCabe. I am the Senior Minister of Unity Village Chapel here at Unity Headquarters at Unity Village in Missouri. And I have a passion to awaken mindfulness, cultivate care, and inspire action. And so we are here bringing this message to you. Those of you that are coming to us live on Facebook, just know that you can get up close and personal in the Zoom room. So if you follow the instructions on this event link, you can come into the Zoom room, and right after the live stream broadcast, we have an opportunity to go back and forth with questions, with answers, with a deeper discussion. So if you haven't tried out the Zoom room yet, think about doing that today. So I want to welcome today one of my beloved colleagues, the Reverend Michelle Medrano from Mile High Church in Lakewood, Colorado. And just greetings and welcome, Michelle. I'm so glad that you're here with us today. And why don't you tell everyone what you have for us today?
I'm happy to do that. Thank you so much. I want to talk today about perception and an opportunity to deepen and widen and get clear about our perceptions along the way as we're dealing with all the things that are going on in the world. Have you noticed there's some stuff going on, Erin? There's
a little bit here and there, just a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so should I jump right into what I want to talk about today, or is there a clip that Barbara's going to play, or what are we?
Barbara will play that clip at the end.
At the end, okay.
Go for it. And I think perception is just such a perfect pick for today because, you know, that's the place where our experience meets reality and where we co-create reality. So I'm really excited for this message.
Yeah, I've been really dancing a lot in my own practice with, as I look out in the world and I watch myself and others have perceptions and thoughts and ideas and everything from the small minutia of life to the great expansiveness of life. And so this last Sunday, I was really working in our community at Mile High with that dance of perception and realizing that there's this space of perception that we can get stuck in as we look at what's going on with the COVID or with the racial evolution that's occurring right now, or with the upcoming elections and politics, with the challenges of our own personal life, the things that are going on that either we're unsure of or that we want to transcend, or the things we want to reach for greater life. And we get stuck kind of in this, I would call it a mediocrity of perception. And we have to be mindful and careful. And in this mediocre space, what the container looks like is it looks like all of our unhealed past sometimes. It looks like unhealed stuff. It looks like ignorance about possibilities. It looks like stubbornness, righteousness, where I don't want to expand my viewpoint or consider other people's viewpoints. It looks like safety to some of us because it's a comfort zone. And that's the trap of that part of that mediocre perception. And so what happens there is that we begin to build stories. We look at the news, we look at memes, we look at articles that we haven't vetted, we look at people's comments that we talk to. And there's this very interesting dynamic about the way our brain literally works that I love. I love studying brain science and learning about how our brain works. And I find a huge correlation to the work of the brain and to new thought. that New Thought outlines exactly the way our brains tend to work. And I also love Brené Brown. And in her book, Rising Strong, Brené Brown points out some research by a doctor named Robert Burton, who's a neurologist and a novelist, who talks about when we start to go down a path where we create a story about what's going on, a story about those people over there, a story about this condition in my life, a story about ourselves. Our brain craves stories. And in the land of mediocrity, the stories we make up allow us to continue to perpetuate them. And one thing that this research indicates is that we get a dopamine response when we complete a story. Now, the story doesn't have to be accurate. The story doesn't have to be true. We just have to have a conviction of completion. Oh, that's because they're that way because they blah, 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 or that person or that situation, or they're never gonna, all those things that we do in the land of mediocrity. Story making is a dopamine addiction that some of us have. And so we get stuck there. So we have to, number one, I think, intend to transcend the land of mediocrity. And it has to do with perception. And it's the great teachings of New Thought. And I think that perception for me feels like it breaks when I go either direction in the line of perception. So in other words, I talked a lot on Sunday about when we allow our perception to expand beyond that land, and that comes often with a thought of, well, what are some other ways I could see this? It comes with being willing to even read the works of people whose ideas I oppose or I don't agree with. I think I don't agree with. I perceive I don't agree with. It comes with a willingness to hear all sides of the story. That's part of it. And that often breaks that story making up to allow us to feel this expansiveness beyond the story. But even now, as I come closer to you right now, all you see is this. And even now in this perception, as I lean back, you can see more of the picture that's behind me. And so we all know that feeling of when we take a step back. And I think in a lot of these issues we're facing, where we're really stuck, or we don't know what to believe, or we feel disempowered or unsafe, one of the ways we can break that is to step back in our perception. So it's asking ourselves good questions. It's allowing our mind to think new thoughts. And for me, it's also then taking the people, positions, situations, challenges, judgments that I perceive, the most expanded place I can, which is into my prayer life, to take them to God, to take them into this space where I just feel that expansive possibility of the infinite. And I actually use my connection to the divine to listen and hear possibilities and hear insights and hear guidance for myself, for what's right for me, for where I really want to be, for how I can hold a both and perspective. And then the other place that I want to call out to is that's very helpful. And that's where most of us want to go in this time like this, when we're in New Thought and we're in any kind of faith tradition. We want to go to prayer. We want to go to God. There's a deep place where I think God resides also beyond the land of mediocrity. And that's if you go really closely deep within, just like the body. I mean, this body that we have, we might have an ache or a tumor or an illness or a pain or a muscle that hurts or something. And I know I find that when I go into that with my mind and go into that physical area, I find that at the molecular level, it's pretty magical too. At the molecular level, there's all sorts of information. And so a lot of times if I see something or someone in the news or something going on in the world that disturbs me, if I allow myself to either go to that expansive viewpoint and sometimes go into that detailed close-up viewpoint, what activates then is my connection, my compassion, where I may not agree with someone, but I can see why they might be the way they are, or do the things they do, or make the choices they make. And so whether it's in our personal life, in our own life for ourselves and the conditions we're facing, or in the world that we're seeing beyond us and all that's erupting right now, These are perceptions that we can either use to keep us stuck or we can use to expand us. So in the last few minutes, I just want to invite everybody who's willing just to close their eyes. If you want, you can do this with your eyes open and just feel into that land of mediocrity that you might be residing in right now, a place or a situation where you're clinging to a perception, you're hanging on. This shouldn't be happening. I don't like what's happening. I don't want to do this. I wish this would go away. I'm angry and frustrated. I'm in pain. I'm suffering, whatever it might be. And just feel for a moment that space within that is calling us into a sense of disruption, of peace and well-being, which is the truth of our being. And just breathe into that and recognize it. And be willing with me for just a moment. Let's take the expansive viewpoint. So I invite us just to imagine ourselves, imagine in the midst of that perception or that pain or that question or that confusion, just breathing ourselves out of it, out beyond that land, into a more expansive nature, and breathing ourselves into a space where we feel at one. It might even be that we imagine ourselves on a mountaintop someplace or on a beach. It might be that we imagine ourselves on our meditation pillow, or we imagine ourselves in some place where we feel deep peace, or we just simply imagine ourselves in that most precious space of oneness and connectedness. And as we breathe into that moment, we welcome and invite the divine mind that we are, the divine light that we are, to speak to us, to have its way through us, to perceive itself through us, to live as us as we contemplate that situation. And at the very least, we can know that God, the source, the divine, is peace and well-being and love and light, and that we bring those qualities in partnership with that challenging moment we think we were experiencing, and allow it at least to soften and feel the expansive nature of that. With it might come insight, with it might just come a sense of release. And if we want to, we also then can take that sense and go beyond the world of mediocrity, the land of mediocrity, into the depths of that situation or that person or that condition, bringing the peace and the well-being that is who and what we are into the minutia, into the details, what was said, what was heard, feel into the heart of the people, the situations, the beings, feel into the details of that, and just bring that love and compassion that God is into that, and breathe into that moment. This is a quick way of just practicing busting out of that sense of stuckness. And so we breathe ourselves back into this now moment. And know that at any time we can practice this. We've just done this for a few moments, and that's really all it takes, isn't it? It's just a moment to change our thought, to change our lives, is what Ernest Holmes said. Change your thinking, change your life. And so it behooves us to find practices and ways to think ourselves out of the boxes we find ourselves stuck in.
Oh, Michelle, thank you so much. Thank you for power packing this moment with a message with practical tools and an experience of that centering that we can always come back to. I know that this same thought has just been in my mind lately of recognizing, when we are, and the dopamine rush that you were talking about, but when we are in ego, we're looking to identify, label, make a decision. This is what I agree with or what I don't agree with. This is what I think about. And that ties it together on another level. That's like the brain and the ego mind saying, I want to solve this, and I want to put it in a pretty package, and I want to wrap it up. And this is what it is. I now have a label for it. I have an identification for it, and I can now put it away and close that story.
Right.
But presence does, and what spiritual perception does, it simply experiences and presences things. So it doesn't have that need. So if we can practice that suspended judgment and these tools of coming in and moving out, then we can bring ourselves into spiritual perception, which is really just the state of loving kindness, the state of compassion, the state of, like a childlike experience of something where we can really presence it. And it's from that place that we can see things with new eyes, that we can see beyond our boundaries and our borders and our blind sides and all of that.
Right.
So, whew, thank you.
Yeah, and the reality is that what you said, I think, is so brilliant, because we want to put things in a pretty package and tie them all up and have them be done. And the reality is that life is complicated, challenging, and messy. And what?
And messy, yep.
And messy. And we have to stand with it and manage ourselves in the journey. So that's great. Thank you very much, Erin.
Absolutely. So everyone, thank you for joining us live stream. And if you want to join us in the Zoom room, you can hop in right now and get up close and personal. We will be answering questions, rolling around ideas, and taking whatever you're working with and helping to share some light, spread some light, and elevate each other together as a community. So hop on into the Zoom room. We are here every week. So mark this time and this date on your calendar. If you want to find out more about our Council of Leadership for AGNT, there's a link below. If you believe in this work, you believe in this idea of new thought, and you want to prosper it on the planet and keep it alive and keep it growing, you have an opportunity to donate there. There's a button down there if you'd like to do that. And join us each week. And just know that Reverend Michelle is live streaming every Sunday from Mile High Church, and I'm live streaming every Sunday from Unity Village Chapel, and so are many of our AGNT leaders. So there is so much spiritual nourishment out there that you can get on Sundays or later on in the archives, but we're here to support you, and thank you for being with us. Namaste.
I think, first of all, that ability to be chill or cool in the midst of challenge comes with age, comes with growing a little bit older and wiser, and being able to look back on the span of my life and see that over the years I have met with challenge and challenge and challenge, and I'm still here. I'm still here doing my thing, right? Yeah, and I made it through the challenges that at times in my younger days I thought, my life is over, it's all ruined, or I'm not going to make it through this, and somehow I survived. And so that wisdom is there that says to me, okay, if I survive that, I can probably get through this. Wisdom. Then I've also noticed that this teaching, Science of Mind and Spirit, has at the core of it so many tools and opportunities for healing and a discovery of the meaning of things and forgiveness and connectedness with the universe, that these teachings have given me tools that I can use in my life to help me manage the conditions that show up in my life. And so that's important.
All right, that was a